Join spiritual feminist and empowerment coach Joni Advent Maher for Trust Your Sacred Feminine Flow. Listen in for intimate conversations about money, transformation, and feminine sovereignty. And now, your host, Joni Advent Maher.
This episode of Trust Your Sacred Feminine Flow is brought to you by Claiming Feminine, embodied wisdom and experiences to return to our essence of being expressive, soft, juicy, playful, powerful, feminine beings. Welcome to Trust Your Sacred Feminine Flow. I'm your host, Joni Advent Maher, mystic, spiritual midwife, and a transformational guide. And today I am delighted to honor and to welcome Shae Lamond. Welcome, Shae.
Thank you, Joni. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's so nice to be with you, Shae. I just feel this soft essence. Your essence has this quality to it of like a soft breath almost. It's really warm and lovely. So I'm excited to share your presence and energy with our listeners. But before we dive in, I want to just share a little bit more about you and what you bring to the world. So Shae leads, as I said, with a soft and a playful feminine force of love. She writes, she teaches yoga classes and workshops and trainings and retreats. And she is fueled by the desire to empower women to their fullest potential of expression, sensuality, joy, and freedom. As a writer, artist, and dancer, she has always been connected to creative expression as a form of play, learning, therapy, and transformation. She now offers guidance to women like her who are yearning to connect to their intuition, sisterhood, softness, power, and play, and to finally surrender to life. Trusting in the universal guidance as well as her essence as a powerful creator, she leads retreats, trimmings, yoga classes, workshops in Bali, and writes about feminine expression and embodiment to continue to illuminate this work of claiming our feminine nature. There's nothing to find or learn outside of us. We each, as women, have the innate capacity to be the magic that we are and to connect as sisters, to heal ourselves and the world, and to create beauty in our lives as a natural expression of our own beauty. So welcome, Shae.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so I skipped a little bit of your bio, and I want us to circle back to that, but I believe that speaks to kind of the journey that brought you to claiming feminine in the first place. So I wanted to let you speak to that and take us down that road with you.
Yeah, yes. Where to begin? So I think I'll begin with what you mentioned at the start, that you sense this softness within me that I definitely feel really strongly in myself and did not feel for a very long time. So I grew up in an immediate family of a brother and a father. And my mother had left at a very early age. She could not take care of my brother, and she could not stay with my dad. And she was not having a very healthy mentally or physically lifestyle, and she really went down some dark paths, which as a child I didn't understand, I didn't know. And I did grow up really believing that I was not loved, and that it was my fault, or that, if I did or was something different, then she wouldn't have left, my mother wouldn't have left. And so throughout her life, as I was growing up, she did contact us every now and again. There would be presents on birthdays, and we might see her every few years, but it did feel like this distant relative connection. And I definitely internalized a lot of the pain I was feeling. At the same time, I was a deeply sensitive little girl. I cried a lot. I was very self-expressive, I did always dance. I always loved to run and play and express and create art. But I started to learn through just dynamics within my family. My brother and my dad did the best that they could with what they had. But unfortunately, they didn't understand a sensitive, young, creative girl and didn't know how to show her that they did love her in their way. So, yeah, as a child, I learned to internalize my pain and to stop expressing it. And since there was so much pain and just a murkiness of who I was and this sense of love within my life, it really got me into this path of finding love and acceptance from achieving and being perfect, being the good girl and pleasing and being quiet, and just all of the ways we learn as women collectively, that there's certain ways to be and not to be. So that, and my personal journey led me to, academically achieving, being really quite successful at academics, and most things that I tried. I was very competitive in most of the things that I did. And I did get this feedback of like, you're doing great, keep achieving, keep working hard. If you work hard, this is how you succeed in life. And this was the framework that I was growing up in and living in moving from a small country town in Australia to the big city to study and work. And I was still very young. I was 19 at the time, attending university and living on my own and working. And it was then that everything that had culminated, this pain and this resentment and anger at that point that I was still holding toward my mother, kind of all came to this threshold point when she died. And I found out on my birthday, on my 19th birthday. Actually, the anniversary of her death is yesterday.
Wow.
So that was 8 years ago from yesterday.
Wow.
It's a very special time that we're chatting. And through everything that I had carried, this pain, deep pain, and also guilt. There was a lot of guilt there. There was a point in my life at this time where I realized, I don't want to connect with my mother. I'm angry at her. She should have connected with me. She should have stayed with me. I also had this thought always in the back of my mind: when I'm older, when I can handle this later on, I'll reach out to her. I will do this. And she died before I had the chance. And that really crushed me in a way that I couldn't even look at. I couldn't express my grief. I continued on doing what I was doing. I was studying for exams the day of her memorial. I then found a way to cope with this pain by, instead of, again, feeling and expressing what needed to be felt and moved through, I found a way to keep it locked and to numb my feelings with something else. And that something else was still in that line of perfectionism and achieving. And I took something that was in my life that I loved, which was being healthy, moving my body, this love of running and fitness. And in just a few short months after her death, I found myself in a really intense state of orthorexia, which for people who don't know is a term used to describe a disorder, mental illness, but it's a disorder of eating very, very clean to the point of, getting to the point of eating rarely and over-exercising. And this was just, these were just symptoms coming out of this way for me to try and control and try and feel okay, get that hit of achieving. I did my workout, I ate really well, I can feel good about myself again. But it wasn't enough. It had to be more and more and more, until I found myself, my body shutting down. And I had to make a choice to either continue what I was doing and eventually die. That was where I was headed. Or to make a radical change. So I did make a radical change. And I had always been, actually, since the age of 14, intrigued with Buddhist thought, philosophy, yoga. I had done studies on the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism. I had begun to meditate and read a lot of New Age books, spirituality. But at that time, I was 14, 15. I was also going out and partying and drinking at an early age. And, so I was taking this in mentally, but I wasn't living anything that I was learning. And so this opportunity for me to reset and to clear and to cleanse what I had created, this murkiness that I had found myself in, I basically each and every day went back to what I knew mentally and more learning that I did, listening to audios and podcasts and practices. And every single day I practiced. Every conversation I had, it was with awareness, in this learning of mindfulness, of watching my thoughts, of challenging my beliefs, of mindfully washing the dishes with all of my senses, of sharing things with my family that were tough to share but I knew had to be expressed, of learning how to cry and really let myself cry. And I had a meditation and yoga retreat booked to Ubud, Bali. And at that time, I had moved back down to my small country town. I left university, put that on hold, left my job. I had nothing else to do but heal. I painted, I danced. I just found my soul again. I found my essence again. And when I went to Bali, it was one of the most potent experiences of this feminine essence. Because Bali, if any of the listeners here, if you have been yourself, Journey, this place is one of the most feminine places in the world. It is wild, raw. The jungle is rich, vibrant. The water, the elements are in full force, unapologetically. And most people come here to heal or to share and express. And I was living, as I mentioned, with my mother's parents, actually, who did have a stronger connection with me and my brother. And I began to heal this generational connection. And I believe a lot of healing happened for my Oma and Opa, they're Dutch, of their connection with my mother through me. And I had this retreat booked for myself. And my Oma said to me one day, I wish I could go. Oh, it'd be so lovely to go with you. And I said, come. And so she said yes. And my grandmother, my Oma, began to start some yoga classes back home to get herself ready.
Mm.
And my first trip to Bali, she came with me for 10 days and was on retreat with me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was magic. And so fast forward a little bit from that, I mean, I remember this potent feeling in this 10 days. I was like, I have to live here. This is my home. This place is my home.
Mm.
Which sounded quite strange because in a small country town in Australia, there isn't so many of us leaving and living overseas and doing something like this.
Sure.
But I went back home and that whispering it wasn't whispers anymore. It was just so strong. My soul telling me, Bali is your home. Bali is your home.
Mm.
And a year later, I found myself living on this mountain in Bali, teaching a young boy, homeschooling him. I began writing online as a way to work, and I lived on this mountain for 2 years. I started then teaching yoga. I went to a studio down in Ubud whenever I could to go to classes at this beautiful studio that I found a connection and community within. And then again, things aligned. I met people. I am now living in Ubud and teaching at this studio that I was attending. 4 years later, offering retreats and working with women to heal.
Mm. 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 That is so powerful. Just the transformation and the healing that can happen so quickly. And when we align, or it's like when we're stepping into that flow of the river where the current is the strongest, it just it just can carry us and take us. And that's the image I get, like you really stepping in and like lying on your back and surrendering and letting it carry you. Not that you didn't have to do some internal work yourself, but just that the potency of the flow that can happen when we align.
Oh, yes. Yes. That is something that I feel is really important to share. There's so many times where, students have asked me, how did you do this? I wish I could live in Bali. I wish I could do this. Or, women asking me, especially those I've connected with and worked with in their own healing, especially from eating disorders or just other illness. And it's, what did you do exactly? And it's more, it's deeper than what we do. It's the surrender to what is there first. I think we try to skip ahead to the doing and the working out and the planning and it's going to happen this way and my healing will happen in that system. And we just, we are blocking off the possibilities of all the expansive ways we don't even know yet could carry us there. All of the opportunities which might just pop up, all of the different aspects of healing that could just happen organically. And that is the magic, and that is what wants to be birthed through us, and that is where it's going to be most potent to delivering us to where we need to be. It's that surrender to the flow in every way.
Yes. And for me, that is the essence of trusting our sacred feminine flow. It is trusting that organic, fluid nature of the feminine that is not the linear point A to point B, but really is more that circular, or that kind of the wave motion or the fluidity, as I said. So it's something I appreciate about you and your essence, because I want to name that one of the first places I experienced you was on Instagram. And Shae, if you've never seen her post the most exquisite videos of her dancing, as well as images from Bali and the forest, and as well as from her paintings or images of her there. And it is that like quintessential sensual feminine expression. And it's so like the transmission comes through. It really comes through, and it is like just a little morsel of the sacred to take in.
That's so beautiful to hear, Joni. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, it's this trust in what needs to come through and what needs to be shared. I did have the first moments I was interacting with this platform, Instagram, to share about my work and my teaching and what I was doing here in Bali, was when I was still more unclear about what message I had to share and the realm I did want to more focus on in this vast realm of wellness, mentally, physically, yoga, spirituality. There's just so much and so many beautiful avenues of people doing the work. And I was unclear of what mine was. And it was much harder to write, a post. It was much harder to write a blog. I already had a blog at that time as well. I found myself having to really think of the topics, or I found myself, second guessing imagery or trying to work out, okay, how is this person doing it? This person's doing it great, or, and they're doing this many posts a day, or they're doing a live in this way, and seeing the system of it. And I was looking to the system to, looking outside of myself to try and find what my way was. And it wasn't until I became much more clear on this work of claiming feminine, which, Joni, you had a very big part actually in my receiving the transmission that's what my work was. It wasn't until that became clear within me that now really I only share what needs to be. Like, I only share when there is truly a message that is coming through me, that it's like, I can't not write this right now. It's like an impulse almost. It bubbles up within me. And that is the same with the dance. It's the same with, when I do take a picture or poetry, I write poetry. And I don't think there'd be very few instances where I've ever spent probably more than 15 minutes on a poem. It pours out of me. And it's just that surrender to the flow, the gushing flow. And it's just trusting that, if there's been a few days of me not sharing anything, that's what needs to happen. There's something welling up, and when it needs to share, it will come out. And it's allowed me to really own my way of expressing on this platform, which so many other people are in such a similar way, and, similar feminine arts and other work. And moments, of course, I'm second guessing, like, oh, should I be doing it like this? And they're doing it like that. And I'm like, no, there's no rules for sharing. There's no rules for expression. This is the work I'm sharing with women. And so this is what I'm embodying in just, how I'm interacting with this platform.
Yes. And I keep coming back to something that feels like is bubbling up in what you're sharing and what we're creating together, which is the distinction between the form and the structure and what is like imbuing it with life. And what I hear you describing is that opening to that flow, or opening to whether it's your essence or the wisdom that wants to pour through you. Like that is it. Like that is it, and that's what it's all about. The form is what comes last. It's not. It's
we jump ahead to the form, don't we? We jump ahead to what like where we're going to land, where we think we're going to land. And I guess it's it's coming from this sense of trying to find security or safety within our mind to know where it might be that we land, to know what it's going to look like and feel like, and to know already how we're going to, what our career is going to be, or where we're going to live for the rest of our lives. Like, there's questions I get a lot. Are you going to live in Bali always, Shae? And I'm like, I don't know. Did you know where you were going to live always when you were in your mid-20s or 30s or 40s? How do we know this? But we want to know. We try to know because it's easier when we think we know than it is to surrender to trust. There's a stepping off the ledge when we connect with trust. There's a faith. There's a courage in trusting. Just like, creating a new artwork. Things that I paint, I don't know what I'm painting yet. There may be a rough image, but I don't know. And color is just, it starts to shape into something. And at the creation, I'm just witnessing creation as I'm engaging with it. So trusting the flow as well. I think part of us not stepping off into that current, part of us not taking that leap of courage and trusting is, I think, that idea that, what happens if we fail, or what happens if the current takes us somewhere else that we don't know, or what happens, are we surrendering our entire autonomy or control, but it's not that. I don't believe it's surrendering our creativity. It's about surrendering to our creativity. So it's not surrendering our ability to be in the world. It's like, I share this within my classes, you surrendering to this feeling of sensation, or surrendering to your practice, or surrendering to life. It's not letting life bowl you over with whatever happens in the challenges and the pain. It's not letting life control you and you just being there passively. It's letting life show you the way that it wants to move through you, because you are life expressed. And then it's you being able to swim in the current in your way. Life is just taking you and giving you that beautiful help in moving you along more fluidly. But you get to choose how you swim. You get to choose what happens when a rock obstacle comes within your way, how you might sweep over it, or swim underneath it, or swim, around it. We're creating and we're engaging with life, I believe, so much more fully when we are moving with it.
Yes, yes, yes. I could not agree more. And I have this image of whether it is a dance or it is just being this conduit, as you said, for life. And I personally believe that we are, as you're saying, we are the expression of life, but we are like the sacred, the divine, creating moment by moment through our own experience and expression. And in my experience, there's like no greater joy than that. I mean, that is like ecstatic.
Yes. That is, and they're the moments, we all know those moments of ecstasy and joy and deep love and beauty. We know those moments already. And it's just many moments we're not recognizing that what we've done is just completely surrendered to the present moment and what is there. And when we can recognize that, then it allows us to tap into those states more. It allows us to come back onto that path, come back into our flow in moments we get lost and we come out of flow, which of course is going to happen always. There's going to be moments. We are human, and life gives us those opportunities to realign. And it's not how many times we have to realign is what matters. It's just that we do realign eventually, and having more of the tools and more of the guidance and more of the connections with other people who can help us, other women who can help rise others up to come back into that alignment. That is the work, and that is why we're here together on this path, not just alone, It's why the divine is here in many forms, not just one.
Yes. And there is great joy in even this, like what we are doing is just an expression of the way that we can co-create together, and that each of our unique expressions brings something more to the whole. And as we come together and collaborate, even more so.
Yeah.
So in this vein, in this realm, I would love for you to share about the magnificent, exciting, beautiful offering that you have coming up, because I know our listeners would love to hear about it.
Yes, thank you. I am so excited. Already there's a sisterhood gathering for this experience. And I'll shortly share how it relates to Joni a year ago. It was almost a year ago as well this month that I found you. I found your podcast. I was going through a very intense breakup here in Bali with an amazing, beautiful man that I had been in relationship with, working at the same studio as him. And it was time for us to separate, but I was not ready to see that yet. So when he, did that for us and did break up with me, I was very lost. And at that time, I was getting a little bit more clarity on that I wanted to work with women and offer experiences for women. But at that time, my website, my blog was called Finding Feminine, because I was really trying to find more of a deeper feminine connection. My spiritual journey started with spirituality, awareness, mindfulness, then into feminine arts. And it was still in this realm of finding her. And when I listened to your podcast, the first one was with Julie Daly. You were talking to Julie, and it was also about this sense of loss. And I remember feeling so connected, because I connected to my sense of loss to my mother, but also to this relationship. And it was so powerful what came through this transmission of you expressing trust and Julie also expressing feeling the grief. And I went and stayed for a few nights up on the mountain. I call it the mountain, but this is called Mount Batu, which is a place that I was living at for 2 years on Bali Eco Stay, this amazing eco resort. There's a waterfall on site that is like walking distance from every bungalow. It's permaculture food is grown there on the mountain. The water we drink, very rare in Bali, the water we drink from the taps is straight from the mountain, that pure source. It's hydroelectricity. It's the beautiful staff are all from the local villages, and it's like a family community, beautiful, beautiful setting. And so I can go up and stay whenever I feel. It's like a second home to me. And I stayed to heal and to just take this breath of air and what I needed in this journey of healing through this breakup. And what came through there was, you have to dance. There was this whisper in me, you have to dance, Shae, dance. And because I was listening to everything that was affecting me, your beautiful words and other podcasts and audios and music, when you're in this mode of feeling, music just touches your core. And I just started to breathe and feel through my dancing what I needed to feel in this breakup. So I danced loss. I put a song on that had this anger, because I was angry at this having to end. I was angry. And so I danced anger through. I danced sadness. I danced moments of beauty every single day. Without fail, I did dance. And I started to record that and to share it, because this was me expressing what I was going through. This was me allowing myself to be fully in this experience. And because I had that experience of my past, of my loss of my mother, and not feeling it, not feeling that grief, and knowing what happened when I shut off from the feeling and getting to that disorder of body and mind from closing off from feeling, and only later allowing that feeling of grief to come through within the healing journey. I already knew what would happen if I locked this feeling down. I already had a sense of, you know, that feeling needs to be felt, and that there's many ways that we can do that. And so it was like this breakup, this loss was an opportunity for me to experience what I did not in that realm with my mother. And I just dived into this feeling it all. And so people would ask me, are you okay, Shae? Are you okay? You know, friends that knew us, who knew what was happening. I was like, no, you know, I'm not okay, but I'm okay in that. I'm okay not being okay. And what happened was just transformation. And I believe the healing from this breakup, the healing with this man happened so much faster than it would have. It could have gone on for years carrying this pain like we do with especially endings of relationships. But instead, I witnessed the transformation within me of stepping into this power of feminine feeling, of expression, of owning just all facets of myself. And there was a clear moment when I was like, oh, it is not about finding my feminine essence. It's not about finding this feminine me. She's already here. She's so alive. It's just about claiming her. It's about trusting that she is here and she wants to be felt and she wants to come through. And that trust, you know, that I was learning from you in your words and that expression of dance and painting and speaking, that's what led me to this work of claiming feminine and the work that I had to share with others. And again, it was like, I didn't know yet that this was what the retreat would be that I start to offer. And this is what the workshops that I've been offering and the writings. All it was listening to those whispers and listening to when women was starting to really reach out to me on my, you know, networks online or in person, telling me like, you are inspiring me. They said, you know, you're inspiring me to feel and to be raw. You're inspiring me to move my body, to connect with my body, to be sensual. And because I was receiving this, I received this as just messages from life, from the universe of like, Shae, this is your work. You're already doing the work. It's not that you have to find what your work is. You are doing it. You're doing it.
This is it. Yes.
So that's what I had to share about why it's called Claiming Feminine, why it is connected with you. A side note, I did reach out to Julie Daly, and actually after listening to you and still listening with you last year, I actually worked with her one-to-one. I was working with Julie and she helped me put the retreat online. She helped me as in I had this idea to create the retreat and she helped me really refine this confidence within me to actually say, yes, this is valuable. Yes, I will do this. So she was there from the start of me wanting to manifest to the manifesting it. So again, your connection with me, her and her beautiful wisdom. And it was all about basically that one moment. I knew it would happen. I knew this retreat would happen. I could already feel it. But that step of actually putting it online and sharing it with the world, it was like stepping out of that imposter syndrome I had, which was about like, you know, there's so many women doing this incredible work, especially in Bali. Who am I to share something else? But it was like, then who am I not? I have a unique voice with my experiences. Everything that I've gone through up until this moment is part of what I have to share. And that will speak to who it is right to speak to. It will speak to whoever wants to receive this or whoever's feeling aligned. And that is perfect. And then there's women who will be aligned with another woman who's working in a similar but different way, who has that key message. And that is perfect. So it's now just trusting that, yes, the women who have now already signed up to this experience are there because they've resonated and they're feeling the call. And I just offer the call and then it's received by the women who are ready. And so whoever is feeling resonant with this, listening to this, or whoever hears about it in another way, I trust that you will come. You will come, and it will be the experience that needs to happen.
And my sense is, because I know it's scheduled for this coming October 2019.
Yes,
Yes.
October the 21st to the 26th.
And it's at the Mountain Eco Stay in Bali.
Yes, my home where I used to live and where I have this strong connection. It's we have the entire place just for us too. It's the entire resort. We'll be retreating.
My goodness. And I know you already have, it's almost half full already, and it's still months away.
Yes.
So if listeners were interested, and I will tell you, listeners, I looked at the website, and it just looks delicious in terms of the location. If I didn't already have my own committed travel plans, I would be like paradise, the definition of paradise. So if nothing else, check out the website just to see it. So I will have the website posted, but I know you also made a very generous offer for our listeners. So do you want to share what that is?
I do, yes. It's just in gratitude for being heard. As women, being heard is so beautiful and so important, and sharing as well. We want to express, and we want to have our expression received, and that's beautiful. And I'm feeling that so strongly, being able to share this with you, Joni. And so, if you're feeling called, contact me, and I'm happy to answer anything. Or if you're feeling really called, of course, you can just sign up. It happens online. But any women who mention that they heard this on the podcast, on Joni's podcast, then you can get $200 US off the cost. And you can do that by reaching out to me or paying the deposit, and then reaching out and just letting us know that that's where you heard about the retreat. It is a stunning location. It's one of the places that I can say, I don't know if you know this feeling of like you share something about this beautiful thing, and it's like, oh, I hope I'm not like sharing it about it too much. And they have this idea like I can't not stress the beauty enough and still know that people will experience far more beauty than I've ever shared about. Like I expected when I first came to this place, this stunning, mountain location, and it was just beyond expectations, because there's a feeling there. This mountain is holding something very rich and potent, and it is in a place in Bali a little bit more untouched. People don't know about this island as much. The air is slightly more crisp and cool. And the retreat in itself, there's a lot of work, in expression, sister circles, dance, yoga, sharing. And there's so much ample time to just rest and be in nature. Because I believe, again, all of the experiences are based on this essence of claiming what is already within. I'm not here to share and teach you something these women already don't know. I'm not here to share like, this is what I have to give you, to pass it on to you. It's something that it's like, let's remember together. And a lot of that remembrance can happen in rest and just space to rest. So there's a lot of that within the retreat.
Yes, I'm nodding my head up and down, which of course nobody can see me, but I'm saying yes. Yeah, so it is that coming together to remember, or to enter that stream together, and to just be carried together. And my guess is that even if someone is listening to this episode long after the retreat has passed, this won't be the one and only last retreat that
Oh, no. No, I can already feel the next one. Not jumping ahead trying to plan
right.
the next one. It's
No,
like I'm
no.
feeling the next one, like wanting to be birthed. And
Yes.
yes, I believe I think next year probably there will be two. It will be annually, either one or multiple. But again, I'm in Bali, living here. I'm offering classes, trainings, workshops in this area as well. And online, I'm sharing a lot of my writing about this. I do work with women also one-to-one in different guidance sessions. And
Mhm.
so this is just one experience of the many that, I'm just trusting is wanting to be carried through in the work and what I have to share with those who feel aligned with me.
Mm. And I trust that everyone could find the ways to follow you through the website. That
Yeah.
yes, they will have the means to do that. So
Yeah.
the website is in the show notes, but just wanted to be sure that was the case.
That's true. Yes, it all links. So the website, and then the blog is within the website, and my Instagram, where I do more of the posting, and I'm very contactable through Instagram. Also, my email, and it mentions also the studio I work at here in Bali, Radiantly Alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can't believe it, but we're getting to the point where we need to bring it to a close. And I am inclined to ask you, I haven't done this in a while, but this is a question I'm sure you've heard many women answer if you've listened to the podcast. So what would you say to your younger self from where you're standing today, Shae?
I love this question, and I always answer it every time you ask. I'm listening, and I love hearing other women's answers to this question. And sometimes a different answer comes through, but there's one most resonant answer that's always come through for me, and it's still true right now. And it's that everyone just wants to be loved. Everyone else as well is just wanting to be loved. And I would tell my 5-year-old self this, because that's all she wanted. That's all she wanted. And if she really did recognize that and remember that in hard moments, she would realize that the hard moments with other people, with my family, with my mother, that at the core of it, they too just want to be loved and need to be loved. And we're all reaching out to it in our own way, and we're all expressing it in our own way with the best ability that we can with what we have. My mother was doing that the best that she could. It was only so much later in life that I realized her leaving was a gift of love to my brother and me. She couldn't be with us. She couldn't have her life in ours physically. And now it's like to this point of, honestly, deep, deep gratitude for her leaving, deep, deep gratitude for the death of her, in a point where I'm recognizing, the soul, and this is just my belief here, and there was something that alchemized in the way that her soul chose to have her life play out in this way that has affected other people's lives and my life in such a way where I had to go through these lessons, these learnings. I had to go through the shadow, and all of what had to happen is perfect. Every part of my life, the breakup as well, and all of this has landed me into where I am now to share what I have now. So it's trusting that it was all for the divine beauty, and it's just love and gratitude is all I feel when I sense and feel my mother, which is very strongly at this, this week especially. So that
Yes.
we all just want to be loved, and we are all loving in our own way.
That's so beautiful. And I can just feel the relief, the release, the healing that does flow back to her from your own awareness and acknowledgement and kind of letting go of any anger or bitterness or any of the old pain. So
Yeah, it's just love.
yes, and that's a beautiful note to end on.
Yes.
So Shae, I want to thank you for coming and for getting up bright and early, because it's quite early in the morning where you are.
Yes, it is. Oh, and I love the mornings, though. It's the divine time for me.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and I just want to honor, as I said at the very beginning, like honor you taking that step in and doing the surrendering and being willing to express and to feel and to embody the fullness and to claim your feminine, because it is such a gift to the world. I feel the gift, and I know the ripple effects that are moving just from what you're sharing in the world.
Thank you, Joni. So beautiful to receive.
Mm.
Thank you. And me to you as well. So much gratitude for your role as well in all of this. Beautiful work.
Thank you. Thank you. And of course, we want to thank you, dear listener, as well, for taking this time to be with us and for saying yes to your own journey. And I want to remind you, as always, to trust what your heart knows.
Thanks for listening to Trust Your Sacred Feminine Flow with Joni Advent Maher. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share our podcast with a friend and subscribe, rate, and review our podcast at iTunes.